The academy was silent. The students, all aliens from various planets, gathered in the gymnasium. Their eyes were focused on the instructor, a towering creature with scales that shimmered under the bright lights. This was the day that a new student would arrive. An unusual event because the academy had never accepted a human before. Today, we meet someone different. The instructor's voice boomed. His words echoed in the vast gym, but there was no excitement in his tone, only confusion. The aliens whispered among themselves, looking at each other with raised eyebrows. A human? What could a human do here? After all, this was no ordinary school. This was the Alien Academy, known across the galaxy for training the strongest warriors. The students here were from species with abilities far beyond those of any human. Some could breathe fire, some had wings, others could turn invisible. To them, humans were weak, fragile, and easily defeated. Everyone was curious about the human, but most of the students were also dismissive. "They will never last here," one alien said with a grin. "Humans are weak. I heard they are small and slow," another alien commented, laughing. The instructor did not share their amusement. He had been asked by the council to train this human. There was a reason for it, but he couldn't say why. As far as he knew, the human wasn't anything special. The gym doors opened with a soft hiss, and all eyes turned to see the newcomer. The room fell into complete silence. Standing in the doorway was a young man. His skin was pale compared to the aliens, and his hair was a simple shade of brown. He wore a standard gym uniform, nothing fancy, but his presence was enough to make the students pause. "Is this him?" someone whispered. He didn't look like much. He was small compared to the other students, and there was nothing remarkable about his appearance. But what caught everyone's attention was his confidence. The human didn't seem scared at all. He walked into the gym with his head held high, as though he belonged. The instructor nodded. "This is Zane, your new classmate." Zane didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He simply stood there, facing the instructor and the students. He could feel the eyes of the aliens on him, judging, questioning his presence. He wasn't afraid, but he knew that this wasn't going to be easy. The aliens would expect him to fail. They would expect him to stumble, to get hurt, to fall behind. But Zane wasn't here to fail. He was here to prove that humans could be more than what the galaxy thought of them. Today, the instructor continued, "We will begin with a basic physical challenge. You will run, you will fight, and you will show your skills. Zane, you will be the first to participate." Zane stepped forward, feeling the weight of the eyes watching him. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. The challenge was simple enough. Run across the gym, jump over obstacles, and complete the course in the fastest time. It was something the aliens had done many times before, and it was meant to test their speed, agility, and strength. The aliens were already making bets. Some said Zane wouldn't make it past the first obstacle. Others thought he might last a little longer, but no one believed he would finish. After all, how could a human keep up with them? Zane didn't care about their doubts. He focused on the course ahead. He took a deep breath and nodded to the instructor, signaling that he was ready. "Begin," the instructor called. Without hesitation, Zane sprinted forward. The aliens watched in surprise. His speed was faster than they expected, his legs pumping powerfully beneath him. He leaped over the first obstacle, a high wall, with ease. His timing was perfect, and the aliens began to murmur among themselves. Maybe they had underestimated him. The next obstacle was a series of poles, swinging from above. The students had to dodge and weave between them without being hit. The aliens were known for their agility, but Zane was moving with a fluidity that no one had seen before. His body seemed to flow like water as he navigated the poles, barely touching them as he passed through. The aliens exchanged looks. Was this human really as weak as they thought? The final obstacle was the hardest, a steep incline that led to the highest platform in the gym. It was designed to challenge even the strongest of the alien students. The incline was steep, the surface slippery. It was easy to lose your footing and fall back down. The other students looked at Zane with curiosity and doubt. They didn't think he would make it, but Zane's eyes were locked on the platform. He reached the base of the incline, and without hesitation, he began to climb. His muscles burned with effort as he pulled himself up. His breath came fast, but he didn't stop. He focused on the top of the incline, where the platform waited for him. With one final push, Zane reached the top, panting heavily. He had done it. The gym was silent. The instructor nodded, his expression unreadable. The aliens, however, were stunned. They had never seen anything like this before. Zane wasn't just fast or agile. He had endured, and that was something no one had expected. He had proven them all wrong. The instructor finally spoke. "Well done, Zane. You have completed the challenge. Now we will see what else you are capable of." Zane didn't smile. He didn't need to. He had done what he came to do. He had shown the aliens that humans were not to be underestimated. But this was just the beginning. Zane's success in the gym had left everyone in shock, but the real challenge was just beginning. The aliens watched him closely as he stood confidently, waiting for the next test. The gym instructor, clearly impressed but not showing it, called for the next event. This time, it wasn't just about speed or agility. This was a test of strength, endurance, and combat skills. A series of stations had been set up around the gym, each designed to test different physical abilities. Zane knew this wouldn't be as easy as the first challenge. The aliens, who had already judged him to be weak, were now expecting him to fail. The first station was a heavy lifting challenge, where students had to lift massive weights far beyond what any human could manage. As the alien students took their turns, they effortlessly lifted the massive weights, showing off their raw strength. It was Zane's turn next. He approached the station, ignoring the whispers of doubt from the other students. Without hesitating, he grabbed the heaviest weight on the platform. The aliens stared, waiting for him to struggle, but Zane's grip was firm, his body steady. With a grunt, he lifted the weight, and the gym fell silent. It wasn't just that he lifted it, it was the ease with which he did it. The instructor's eyes narrowed, clearly puzzled. The alien students, who had been laughing before, now looked uncertain. Zane didn't stop there. He moved to the next station, which was a test of stamina. The aliens had to run in a circle, increasing the speed every minute. It was a race that pushed even the strongest to their limits. Zane joined the group, his legs moving steadily at first, then faster than the aliens had expected. He pushed through the growing exhaustion, never once slowing down. The aliens around him were starting to tire, their breaths coming in heavy gasps. But Zane didn't stop. He ran at a pace they couldn't keep up with. One by one, the aliens began to fall behind, until it was just Zane, still running as though he hadn't even started to break a sweat. The gym instructor observed, his expression unreadable. Zane's stamina was beyond anything he could have predicted. As Zane finished the race, the aliens were beginning to realize something they hadn't considered before. Humans, despite their small size, were capable of much more than they had ever imagined. But there was one final challenge left, one that would test Zane in a way none of the aliens had expected. The gym instructor stepped forward and gave a signal. "Now," he said, "we move on to the final test, a test of combat." The gym went silent. Zane knew this wasn't going to be easy. It was a test of skill, speed, and strength in battle. The aliens were known for their fierce fighting abilities, and the human had no idea what he was walking into. But as Zane stepped forward, he knew one thing for certain. He was ready. This was where he would prove himself, where he would show the aliens that humans were not to be underestimated. The gym was quiet as Zane stepped into the combat arena. The walls around him were made of reinforced glass, and the floor was soft yet firm, designed to protect the fighters. His heart raced. The final test was a battle, and he wasn't sure what to expect. The aliens who had been watching him closely now stepped back, forming a circle around him. The instructor stood at the edge of the arena, observing carefully. Zane could feel the weight of their gazes on him. The aliens were much stronger, faster, and more skilled than any human, but Zane wasn't about to back down. "You will face one of the Academy's top fighters," the instructor's voice boomed. "You must defeat them to pass this test." Zane nodded, trying to remain calm. A figure stepped forward from the circle of students. It was an alien, tall and muscular, with sharp claws and a fierce expression. His name was Therak, a warrior known throughout the Academy for his strength and skill. The other aliens stepped back, whispering amongst themselves. They were eager to see Zane fail. They didn't think a human could stand a chance against someone like Therak. Therak cracked his knuckles and let out a low growl. He was ready. Zane took a deep breath and lowered himself into a fighting stance. The instructor raised a hand. "Fight," he shouted. Therak lunged forward, his claws gleaming in the light. Zane quickly ducked, narrowly avoiding the swipe. He could feel the wind from the alien's claws as they missed him by inches. Zane's heart pounded, but his mind was clear. He couldn't panic. He had to think quickly. The fight wasn't just about strength. It was about speed, strategy, and endurance. Zane rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding another attack. Therak snarled in frustration, swiping at Zane again. This time, Zane didn't dodge. Instead, he blocked the strike with his forearm, the force of it knocking him back, but not down. The aliens watching were surprised. They had expected Zane to be thrown to the ground instantly. Zane was already back on his feet, his breath steady. He didn't have the raw strength of Therak, but he had something the alien didn't: human determination. Zane could feel the pain from the blocked hit, but he ignored it. He couldn't afford to stop now. He had to keep moving. Therak swung again, this time with both arms, aiming to land a devastating blow. Zane saw it coming. In a split second, he ducked and rolled to the side, using Therak's momentum against him. Therak's claws scraped the air as Zane slid behind him. The alien warrior was quick to turn around, but Zane was faster. He launched himself at Therak's back, landing a solid punch right in the alien side. The impact was enough to make Therak stumble, but he quickly regained his balance and turned to face Zane, anger flashing in his eyes. The aliens watching were stunned. They hadn't expected this. Zane wasn't just surviving. He was fighting back. The human had a strength they hadn't anticipated, a strength born from his willpower and skill. Therak roared and charged again, but this time, Zane was ready. He sidestepped, grabbing Therak's arm and using his own weight to throw the alien off balance. With a quick twist, Zane used his elbow to push Therak to the ground. The alien hit the floor with a loud thud, momentarily stunned. Zane didn't stop. He knew this was his chance. He moved quickly, pinning Therak down with his knee and holding his arm in a position that prevented him from getting up. The gym was silent. No one had expected this. Zane, the human who had been laughed at and doubted, was now on top. Therak struggled beneath him, but Zane held firm. "Yield," the instructor shouted. The alien warrior growled in frustration, but finally stopped struggling. He couldn't break free. Zane had done it. He had won the fight. The gym erupted in murmurs. Some aliens were in disbelief, while others were slowly starting to show respect. They had never imagined that a human could fight like this. Zane stood up, breathing heavily. His body was sore from the fight, but he had made it. He had shown them all that humans were more than what they had been led to believe. The instructor stepped forward, his eyes narrowing in thought. "Very well, Zane," he said, his voice low but respectful. "You have proven yourself. You are not what we expected." Zane nodded, his face serious but calm. He had done what no one thought was possible. But this was just the beginning. He wasn't here just to prove that humans could fight. He was here to show the galaxy that humanity had a place among the stars. and he wouldn't stop until they all knew it. Zane stood tall, his chest heaving as he looked down at Theric, who was still on the ground, breathing heavily. The gym was silent, save for the soft hum of the lights overhead. The instructor stepped forward, his face stern but with a hint of respect in his eyes. Zane's heart was racing, but he couldn't let his guard down. He knew this wasn't over yet. "You've proven yourself in combat," the instructor said, his voice carrying through the gym. "But this was just one fight. You still have much to learn." Zane nodded, sweat dripping from his brow. His body ached, and his muscles screamed for rest, but he couldn't afford to show weakness now. The aliens around him were still watching, some with shock on their faces, others with growing admiration. It was clear they hadn't expected him to win, but now that he had, things were changing. Theric slowly rose to his feet, wiping the dust from his armor. His eyes, once filled with anger, now held something different: respect. He didn't say a word, but Zane could see it in the way he carried himself. The other alien students, who had once laughed at him, were now looking at him with curiosity, perhaps even fear. The instructor raised his hand, signaling for the gym to quiet down. "Zane," he said, "you've shown great skill. But remember, this academy isn't just about fighting. It's about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of every species. It's about knowing what it takes to survive and thrive in this universe." Zane straightened up, his mind focused. He knew this wasn't just about physical strength. He had to prove that humans had something more to offer than just brute force. He wasn't just here to fight. He was here to show that humanity could adapt, outsmart, and endure. He could feel the weight of the other students' gazes on him, their curiosity growing by the minute. The instructor turned to the rest of the students. "You've all seen what Zane is capable of, but this is just the beginning. From here on out, things will only get more difficult. You will face trials that will test you in ways you've never experienced before, and you will learn that your strength isn't always enough." The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Zane could tell they were starting to realize that the human before them wasn't someone they could easily dismiss. He had proven that strength alone wasn't what mattered in this academy. It was the ability to adapt, to think on your feet, and to never give up. As Zane turned to leave the gym, the instructor called after him. "Zane, one more thing." Zane paused, turning back to face him. "Remember, you are a human among aliens who have lived for centuries," the instructor said, his tone serious. "Your journey here won't be easy. Many will challenge you, and many will want to see you fail. But you must stay true to yourself. Do not forget what you are fighting for." Zane nodded once more. He wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting for humanity's place in the universe. He would prove that humans were more than capable of standing side by side with any species, no matter how strong, old, or wise they were. As Zane left the gym, the whispers began. Some students were talking about his victory, others questioning how it was possible for a human to defeat such a powerful alien. Zane didn't care about their doubts. What mattered was that they were talking about him. They were starting to notice. And that was only the beginning. Zane walked through the halls of the academy, his mind racing with the events of the past few hours. He had proven himself in the gym, but that was just one battle. There were still many more challenges ahead. The aliens here were strong, skilled, and intelligent. Zane had to be all of those things if he wanted to survive. As he moved through the academy, he noticed the looks of curiosity from the other students. Some of them seemed impressed by his victory over Theric, but others were still skeptical. They hadn't expected a human to do well in the academy, and many still didn't believe he belonged here. Zane didn't care what they thought. He knew he had a purpose, and that purpose was to show the galaxy that humans weren't weak. He had a lot to prove, and he was ready to prove it. That afternoon, he was called into the instructor's office. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Zane stepped inside. The instructor was sitting at a desk, his face serious. "Zane, I'm going to give you a challenge," the instructor said. "You've shown that you can fight, But now it's time to prove your intelligence and resourcefulness. This academy isn't just about physical strength. It's about using your mind to solve problems, make decisions, and survive. Zane nodded, eager for the next challenge. He had already proven he could fight, but he knew that the real test was about more than just combat. The instructor handed Zane a small device. It was a holographic map of a strange, alien planet. The surface was covered in rugged terrain, dangerous creatures, and mysterious energy readings. "This is the planet Zorak 9, the instructor explained. "You will be dropped there with a group of students. Your mission is to find a way to survive on the planet, gather resources, and return to the academy. You will have to deal with the planet's dangers, its wildlife, and other unexpected challenges. Your group will be watching you closely. They will test you, and they will expect you to fail. You need to prove that you're more than just a human. You need to show them that you're capable of adapting and thinking quickly." Zane stared at the map, his mind already working. This wasn't going to be easy, but he wasn't going to back down. He had come this far, and he wasn't about to let a planet full of dangers stop him. "I'm ready," Zane said, his voice steady. The instructor nodded. "Good. This challenge will test everything you've learned so far, and it will show the others what you're really capable of. They may not respect you yet, but they will after this." Zane left the instructor's office, his mind focused on the task ahead. He wasn't just fighting to survive anymore. He was fighting to prove that humans were strong, smart, and adaptable. He was fighting for humanity's place in the universe. The next day, Zane and a group of alien students were dropped onto the surface of Zorak 9. The sky above them was dark, with strange clouds swirling ominously. The ground beneath their feet was rocky and uneven, and the air smelled thick with the scent of strange plants. Zane took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. The other students were already beginning to break into groups, each one focused on their own tasks. Zane knew that he couldn't just follow the group. He had to think for himself and take control of the situation if he wanted to succeed. As they moved deeper into the planet's surface, Zane could feel the tension building. The alien students were still watching him closely, waiting for him to make a mistake. But Zane was focused. He knew that this wasn't just about survival. It was about earning their respect. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the air. Zane's heart raced as he looked around. From the shadows of the distant rocks, a massive creature appeared. It was unlike anything Zane had ever seen before. Tall, with sharp claws and a mouth full of jagged teeth. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light as it charged toward the group. The other students froze in fear, unsure of what to do. Zane didn't hesitate. He immediately sprang into action, grabbing a nearby piece of metal and using it to block the creature's path. The alien students watched in shock as Zane fought the creature back, using his quick thinking and resourcefulness to keep it at bay. The creature roared again, but Zane was ready. He used the environment to his advantage, leading the creature into a narrow canyon where it couldn't move as freely. With quick thinking and a bit of luck, Zane managed to trap the creature, preventing it from attacking any further. The alien students slowly began to approach, their eyes wide with amazement. They had never seen anything like this before. Zane had not only fought the creature but had outsmarted it, using his wits to survive. "Impressive," one of the students said, her voice filled with admiration. "You're not like the other humans we've encountered." Zane didn't smile or respond. He had done what he needed to do. He had shown them that humans weren't just weak creatures. They were capable of surviving in the harshest conditions. He had proven that he could think quickly, adapt to any situation, and fight when necessary. As the group continued their mission, Zane could feel the respect of the alien students slowly growing. They weren't laughing at him anymore. They were watching him, learning from him. And that was exactly what he wanted. Zane's time on Zorak 9 was a trial like no other. Every step he took was filled with dangers. The environment was harsh, the wildlife unpredictable, and his fellow students, though once impressed, were starting to doubt his abilities. But Zane wasn't about to let that stop him. He had come too far to fail now. As the days passed, Zane and his group struggled to gather the necessary resources to complete their mission. The harsh terrain made it difficult to find food, and the dangerous creatures that roamed the planet only added to the tension. Zane's leadership was constantly questioned by the alien students who had never faced challenges like this before. Some thought he was too reckless. Others believed he was simply lucky. But Zane knew better. He had to keep pushing forward, no matter what. One evening, as the group gathered around their campfire, the instructor's voice echoed through the comm device on Zane's wrist. "This is it," the instructor said, his voice cold and direct. "You have one final task to complete. It's time to prove once and for all that you belong here." Zane's heart skipped a beat. He had heard rumors about the final test, but no one knew exactly what it would be. The instructor had kept it a secret, making the challenge feel even more dangerous. Zane gathered the group around him, his face serious. "Listen up," he said, his voice steady. "We've made it this far. We've survived the wild animals, the harsh conditions, and the alien creatures. But this next test is going to push us all to our limits. We can't afford to fail now. If we work together, we can do this." The alien students nodded, their faces showing a mix of fear and determination. They had seen Zane fight and think on his feet before, and they knew he wasn't someone to give up easily. But there was still doubt. They had never seen a human survive this long on a planet like Zarak 9, and some of them weren't sure if Zane had what it took to finish the mission. The final task was simple: reach the extraction point located on the opposite side of the planet. The journey was treacherous, with rugged mountains, dangerous creatures, and unpredictable weather. But Zane knew it wasn't just the terrain he had to worry about. The alien students would be watching him closely, looking for any sign of weakness, any chance to prove that humans weren't as strong as they seemed. As Zane led the group through the wilderness, the sky above them grew darker. Strange, swirling clouds filled the air, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. Zane could sense that something was wrong. The planet itself seemed to be alive, reacting to their presence. He felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up as a deep rumbling sound echoed through the valley. "Get ready," Zane ordered, his voice calm but firm. "Something's coming." Suddenly, the ground shook violently, sending the group stumbling. A massive creature emerged from the shadows, larger than anything Zane had ever seen. Its eyes glowed an eerie red, and its claws scraped the ground as it approached. The creature's roar sent a chill down Zane's spine, but he didn't hesitate. He immediately gave orders to the group. "Stay calm," he said. "We'll take it down together." The alien students stared in shock. They had never seen Zane face such a terrifying creature, and they weren't sure if they could survive. But Zane's confidence gave them strength. He had faced challenges before and had always found a way to win. Now he would show them that humans didn't back down from a fight. With a battle cry, the creature charged. Zane reacted quickly, leading the group into a defensive formation. They had no time to waste. They needed to move fast, or the creature would tear through them. Zane ordered one of the aliens to distract the creature, while another set up traps using the natural environment. The rest of the group formed a defensive line, ready to attack if necessary. Zane's mind raced as he watched the creature charge toward them. He needed to think quickly. He could feel the weight of the other students' eyes on him. They were waiting for him to fail. But he wouldn't. Not now. He couldn't afford to show weakness. Not when humanity's future was at stake. The creature lunged at the group, its claws swiping through the air. Zane barely dodged the attack, but he was ready. He signaled to one of the students, who threw a net made from tough vines at the creature. The net wrapped around the creature's legs, causing it to stumble. Zane seized the opportunity, using his agility to dart forward and strike at the creature's weak spot, just behind its jaw. The creature howled in pain, but it wasn't done yet. It thrashed around, trying to break free of the net. Zane's heart pounded in his chest as he realized that they were running out of time. The creature was strong, but he had to finish this quickly. With one last coordinated effort, Zane and the group launched their final attack. Using their weapons and traps, they managed to subdue the creature, forcing it into submission. The group stood together, breathing heavily, their faces a mixture of relief and awe. Zane turned to them, his voice steady. "We did it. But this isn't over. We still have a long way to go to the extraction point." The alien students nodded, their eyes wide with respect. They had seen Zane face a creature they had no chance of defeating alone. They had seen what humans were truly capable of. And for the first time, they believed in him, not just as a student, but as someone who had earned his place at the academy. As they continued their journey, Zane couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He had done it. He had proven to the aliens that humans weren't just survivors. They were fighters, thinkers, and problem solvers. And he had done it all without giving up. In this part, Zane faces the final test on Zerak 9, a massive creature that threatens his group. With quick thinking, resourcefulness, and leadership, Zane and the alien students manage to defeat the creature. The suspense builds as Zane leads his group to success, proving that humans are more than capable of surviving even the most dangerous situations. The extraction point was finally in sight. After everything they had faced, after surviving the wild terrain, the fierce creature, and the doubts of the alien students, Zane could see the end of their journey. It wasn't just about completing a mission anymore. It was about proving that humans weren't weak, that they were capable of anything, even in the harshest conditions. Zane's heart pounded as he pushed forward, his feet steady despite the exhaustion. The alien students had come to respect him, but there was still one final challenge to overcome. The instructor's voice echoed through the communication device on his wrist. "You're almost there," the instructor said, "but don't think the challenge is over yet. The final test isn't just about survival. It's about strength, strategy, and unity. You must reach the extraction point together, and only then will you truly prove yourselves." Zane's mind raced. He had thought the worst was over, but the instructor's words had made it clear that something else was coming. The group wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to prove they belonged. As they moved closer to the extraction point, the environment around them began to change once again. The landscape shifted, and strange, glowing plants sprouted from the ground. The air grew thick with tension, and Zane could feel the eyes of his fellow students on him. They were waiting for him to lead them through whatever challenge lay ahead. Then it happened. Without warning, a group of alien sentinels appeared, blocking their path. These creatures were unlike anything Zane had seen before. Their metallic bodies shimmered in the dim light, and their eyes glowed with an eerie, mechanical intensity. They were programmed to stop any intruders from reaching the extraction point. Zane's pulse quickened. The sentinels weren't just obstacles. They were designed to eliminate anyone who got too close. This was the final challenge. Without hesitating, Zane gave the orders. "Form a line. Stay together. We fight as one." The alien students responded quickly, falling into formation as they prepared for the battle. Zane's leadership had been tested many times throughout the journey, but now it would be tested more than ever. He had to keep the group united, focused, and calm in the face of danger. The sentinels advanced, their movements smooth and calculated. Their weapons hummed with energy, ready to fire at any moment. Zane knew they had to act fast. He could feel the tension rising, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. "On my signal, we move," Zane said, his voice steadied despite the fear in his chest. The alien students nodded, waiting for his lead. Zane's eyes scanned the sentinels, looking for any weakness. He could see the faint glow of energy shields protecting their bodies. It was clear that brute force wouldn't work against them. Zane's mind raced, searching for a way to outsmart the sentinels. He remembered the strange, glowing plants they had passed earlier. The plants emitted a faint energy pulse, and Zane wondered if that energy could be used to disrupt the Sentinel's shields. He turned to one of the alien students who had a deep knowledge of energy systems. "Can we use those plants to disrupt their shields?" Zane asked. The alien student hesitated, then nodded. "It's possible, but it will take precise timing." Zane didn't hesitate. "We'll do it. Everyone, focus on the plants. We need to time this perfectly." With the plan set, Zane gave the signal. The alien students launched their attack, using their weapons to distract the Sentinels and create openings. Zane moved quickly, positioning himself near the plants and signaling to the others. At just the right moment, Zane activated the plants. The energy pulse surged through the air, hitting the Sentinels' shields and causing them to flicker. The Sentinels hesitated, their movements becoming erratic as the shields malfunctioned. This was their chance. Zane and the group charged forward, attacking with precision. One by one, the Sentinels fell, their bodies crashing to the ground as their shields failed. Zane could hear the sounds of victory. Alien students cheering, the Sentinels defeated. But Zane wasn't done yet. He had one final test to face. As the last Sentinel fell, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The instructor's voice came through the comm device again, but this time it was different. "You've passed the final test," the instructor said. "But the true challenge begins now." Zane's heart skipped a beat. The instructor's words were chilling. He had thought the battle was over, but it seemed the real test was just beginning. The ground beneath them cracked open, and a massive alien structure rose from the depths. It was unlike anything Zane had ever seen. A giant machine, ancient and powerful, with an aura of dark energy surrounding it. The machine hummed with life, its lights flickering as it powered up. The instructor's voice echoed one last time. "Congratulations, Zane. You've proven that humans are capable of anything. Now it's time to face the true power of this academy." Zane stared at the machine, his breath catching in his throat. This was it, the real challenge. But he wasn't afraid. He had come this far, and he wouldn't stop now. The group stood together, ready for whatever came next. They had proven themselves on Zarak 9. Now, they would prove that humanity was unstoppable.